She was just a recruit, but they knew her secret. 4 men cornered her in the mess hall, carrying a truth they thought would destroy her. They thought they were breaking her. They thought they had her exposed. They were catastrophically wrong. Because when the real conspiracy was exposed, those 4 recruits were the ones left stunned, facing a betrayal that ran deeper than they could ever imagine. Amelia walked into the military mess hall. Her shoulders were straight. The knot in her stomach was tighter than usual. The familiar scent of processed food and industrial cleaner hit her first. She grabbed a metal tray. It felt cold against her palm. At 22, Amelia had been serving at Fort Harrison for 9 months. She was one of the few women in her unit. That meant constant scrutiny. She moved through the serving line, accepting mashed potatoes, green beans, and the pale stew the cooks called beef. Betty, the server, an older woman, gave Amelia a look of shared fatigue. "Holding up, honey?" Betty asked, her voice low. "I'm fine," Amelia replied. It was a reflex. Amelia turned. She saw them immediately. The 4 recruits. They were from her basic training class, sitting in a corner booth like predators. Marcus Thompson, the tall leader, wore a smile that never reached his cold eyes. Next to him was Danny Rodriguez, stocky and quick with a cruel joke. Jake Williams was thin and nervous, Marcus's shadow. And then there was Connor O'Brien, the quiet one. His gaze was always calculating. Amelia considered turning away. She thought about eating alone, but she knew avoidance only fueled their game. She squared her jaw. She walked straight toward their table and set her heavy tray down across from Marcus. The clatter was sharp. "Well, well," Marcus drawled. His voice carried. "Look who joined the party, Martinez." Amelia started to eat, chewing slowly to buy silence. "We heard some interesting things," Danny chimed in, leaning forward. "Word is you couldn't keep up on the obstacle course." It was a lie. She had finished 3rd. "I did my best," Amelia said simply. Connor finally spoke. His voice was quiet, far more menacing than the other's bluster. "Your best isn't good enough, Martinez. We can't have a liability." The hum of the mess hall was dying now. Other soldiers watched. Amelia suppressed the anger. These 4 fed on emotion. "We've been thinking," Marcus said, lowering his voice. "Maybe you'd be happier in a different line of work. Something more suitable." Amelia put her fork down. She looked directly at Marcus. Her gaze was steady. "Someone like me?" she asked. Jake spoke up nervously. "The military just isn't the right fit. That's all." Amelia carried a heavy weight into the military. Her past was a broken watch on her wrist, its hands frozen at the moment she abandoned her real name. It was a perpetual reminder of a life she couldn't reclaim. "I think I fit just fine," Amelia said, her voice steady. "I passed the tests. I earned my place here just like everyone else." Danny laughed. "Tests are one thing, Martinez. Real combat is something else. When the bullets fly, can you handle it?" "I guess we'll find out together," Amelia replied. She stood, grabbing her tray. She refused to show defeat. She walked away without looking back, feeling the weight of their stares follow her out. She headed toward the communications room, seeking quiet. The room was dark, lit only by standby indicators. She sat at a console, breathing deeply. Then the door opened. It was Connor O'Brien. His presence here alone made her blood run cold. "We need to talk, Martinez," Connor said. He closed the door. Amelia stood up, tensing. "About what?" Connor pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. He unfolded it slowly. The room felt suddenly too small. "I know your real name isn't Amelia Martinez," Connor whispered. "I know you changed it legally when you were 18. I know your father isn't the mechanic from Phoenix you told everyone about." Amelia's mind spun. The broken watch felt heavy, suddenly broadcasting the truth. Everything she had built was crumbling. "You don't understand," she whispered. Connor's smile was chillingly confident. "Oh, I understand perfectly. The question is, what's the military going to think when the enhanced background check pulls this up?" "What do you want?" she asked. "I want you to quit. Submit your resignation tomorrow morning. Make it clean. Make it voluntary. For everyone's sake." Amelia gripped the edge of the radio desk. Connor's words had shattered the thin veneer of her new life. "They were toxic and inescapable. What do you want?" she finally asked. Her voice was barely a sound. Connor's face was a mask of calculation. "I want you to quit. Submit your resignation tomorrow morning. Make it clean. Make it voluntary." She stared at the staggering consequence. Resigning meant disappearing, clinging to a threadbare existence. Defiance meant exposing her past. Her broken watch felt heavy, mocking her frozen time. She pulled her sleeve over it, resolute. She would not run. Running was the path she was trying to escape. By dawn, her decision was made. She bypassed the chain of command and requested an immediate meeting with Colonel Harrison. At 0700 hours, Amelia was escorted into the colonel's austere office. "Recruit Martinez," Colonel Harrison said, looking up. "This is highly irregular." "Explain yourself." Amelia sat straight. She began the confession she had held for months. "Ma'am, there are aspects of my background that may come to light during enhanced screening that lack context." "I'm listening." "My legal name is Amelia Martinez, but I changed it from Amelia James when I turned 18. My father is Victor James. He was a naturalized citizen and worked as a government translator. His security clearance was revoked 3 years ago. He was accused of contact with Russian nationals." Amelia paused, forcing the next words out. "The reason I changed my name wasn't to hide the scandal, ma'am. It was because my father became unstable after losing his career. He started drinking, grew paranoid, and tried to get me to help him gather information on military activities to prove a conspiracy. The memory of that desperate time was a lonely, dusty road she never wanted to revisit." "And did you help him?" the colonel asked. "No, ma'am. That's when I made a clean break. I moved, changed my name, and enlisted. To prove my loyalty. The military was my distance." Colonel Harrison studied her. "Why tell me this now? Why not wait for the investigation to find it?" Amelia pushed forward. "Because someone has discovered this information, ma'am, and they are using it to pressure me into quitting. Recruit O'Brien approached me last night with information about my past and demanded my resignation. Or he would share it with command." The colonel's expression hardened. "That is a serious accusation, Martinez. Blackmail is a criminal offense under military law." "Yes, ma'am. I wanted you to hear the truth from me." Colonel Harrison stood and walked to the window. Amelia braced for the end. Then the colonel turned back. "Martinez, what you've told me actually works in your favor, not against you." Amelia blinked in shock. "Ma'am, your father's situation was already in our files. Changing your name and disclosing it was the correct procedure. The fact that you refused to participate in his activities and chose military service demonstrates exactly the kind of character we want." Amelia felt dizzy with powerful, unexpected relief. The colonel picked up her desk phone. "Sergeant Rodriguez, I need recruits O'Brien, Thompson, Rodriguez, and Williams in my office immediately." "Yes, all 4. The next hour stretched into an eternity. Amelia waited in the outer office, the adrenaline slowly draining from her body, leaving her shaky and exhausted. The door to Colonel Harrison's office remained closed. Then the recruits arrived, escorted by a strict staff sergeant. Their arrival was silent and heavy. The confident swagger that Marcus, Danny, and Jake usually wore was gone, replaced by a mixture of stark confusion and fear. Connor, the one who should have been most composed, looked utterly devastated. He briefly met Amelia's eye, and in that moment of contact, his usual cold calculation was replaced by pure, startled realization. She hadn't run. She had gone straight to the top, cutting his entire game short. They filed into the colonel's office. The thick door closed, muting the sound, but Amelia could still feel the intensity of the confrontation. She heard the colonel's voice, sharp, clear, and absolutely uncompromising. It was not a conversation. It was a one-sided, merciless indictment. At one point, Marcus's voice rose in a frantic-sounding protest, only to be instantly crushed by the colonel's sharp, decisive response. Amelia glanced at her wrist, the broken watch now feeling less like a burden of lost time, and more like a trophy of time finally regained and spent wisely. After what felt like 3 hours, the door opened. The 4 recruits emerged, utterly defeated. Danny looked like he was actively fighting back tears. Jake looked physically ill. Marcus looked only at the floor, his broad shoulders slumped in absolute resignation. Connor paused as he passed Amelia, his face a ghostly white. "This isn't over, Martinez," he whispered, but the threat was hollow, a dying echo of his former power. "Actually, O'Brien, it is," Colonel Harrison's voice cut in, cold and clear. From the doorway, 2 military police officers appeared immediately, flanking Connor. "Recruit O'Brien, you will be spending the next 72 hours in confinement. We will then decide whether to proceed with court-martial proceedings, charges, attempted blackmail and harassment of a fellow soldier. Connor's carefully constructed composure shattered. The other 3 recruits were also quickly marched out by additional MPs, the silence in the hallway reinforcing the swift, severe application of military justice. "Martinez," the colonel commanded, "report to my office." Amelia walked back inside, the heady rush of vindication quickly replaced by cold unease. What happened next? The colonel closed the door and activated a small black signal jamming unit on her desk. The low, almost inaudible hum was a clear message. This conversation was now deeply classified. "Martinez," the colonel began, her voice dropping to a low, powerful register. "What I'm about to tell you is compartmented information. You will not discuss it with anyone without my direct authorization. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." "Your background investigation was completed 2 weeks ago. Not because of the deployment selection. It was conducted because you were already being considered for a special assignment, one requiring a depth of character few recruits possess." Amelia's mind reeled. Her past was not just accepted, it was a qualification. "The Army Intelligence Division has been watching your progress since basic training." The colonel opened a thick, blank-covered file that Amelia had not noticed before. "Your language skills, your technical aptitude, and yes, even your family background make you uniquely qualified for certain operations." She pulled out several glossy surveillance photographs and spread them across the desk. Amelia was profoundly shocked to see photos of herself in unguarded moments around the base. Then she saw the photos of Connor, Marcus, Danny, and Jake. "What you don't know, Martinez," the colonel said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, "is that the harassment you've been experiencing wasn't random bullying. It was a carefully orchestrated test." The revelation that her entire ordeal had been a sham left Amelia feeling a deep, unsettling hollowness. The photographs of her tormentors, now revealed as actors, lay scattered on the colonel's desk. The betrayal of trust was worse than the harassment itself. "A test?" Amelia asked, the word feeling utterly monstrous. Her whole reality over the last 9 months had been a stage managed by Army intelligence. Colonel Harrison confirmed it with a grim nod. "Connor O'Brien is not just a recruit. He's a psychological operations specialist who's been working undercover to evaluate your responses to pressure. The information he presented to you last night, about your name change, about your father's history, we provided it to him. It was authentic information, used in a controlled environment." Amelia felt a profound sense of anger and violation. Her personal trauma had been leveraged, leaving her with the cold, violated feeling of an empty wallet. Her agency, her control over her own narrative, had been stolen to prove her worth. The other 3, the colonel explained, Thompson, Rodriguez, and Williams, were recruited to participate in what they thought was a legitimate assessment of unit cohesion. They believed they were helping to identify recruits who might be liabilities. "They were told to push you, to undermine you, to see if you cracked. Their intentions were false?" Amelia asked, trying to separate the truth from the lie. "Their actions were real. Your stress was very real, Martinez. The pressure was real. The choice you had to make was real. That's what made it an effective test." The colonel stressed that the assignment they were considering required someone who could make sound decisions under extreme psychological pressure and maintain integrity when compromise was the simplest path. "What kind of assignment?" Amelia whispered. The colonel leaned forward, her eyes intense. "Deep cover intelligence work, specifically infiltrating Russian organized crime networks. They are channeling resources and information back to hostile intelligence services. Your background, your skills, and now your proven psychological resilience make you an ideal candidate." Amelia was speechless. Her painful, secretive past had been weaponized into the perfect asset profile. The colonel addressed the fate of the others. O'Brien was facing discipline not for the test itself, but because his blackmail attempt went beyond the authorized protocol. The others would complete their training but would face formal, non-negotiable discipline for simple harassment. Then Amelia asked the burning question, the one that truly mattered. "Ma'am, if you knew about his background all along, if it actually makes me more valuable, why was my father's life destroyed?" The colonel's expression became profoundly serious. "Your father's situation is more complicated than you know. His security clearance wasn't revoked because of the contacts he maintained. It was revoked because he was actually working as a double agent." Amelia gasped. a shock that eclipsed all prior revelations. What? He was feeding information to us. When his cover was blown by a security leak from another agency, we had to make it appear that he was disgraced and cut off. Otherwise, his Russian contacts would have suspected him. The drinking, the paranoia. It was partially genuine stress, but mostly an act to maintain his cover. He had to push you away to protect you from any potential retaliation. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes. Her father wasn't a failure she had abandoned. He was a hero who had sacrificed his reputation and his connection to her, leaving her the lonely, desperate memory of the dusty road as a protective barrier. This assignment, the colonel stated, bringing the conversation back to the present, is entirely voluntary. It means 6 months of specialized training, operating in dangerous situations with minimal backup, a cover identity that may require you to do things that conflict with your personal values. Take the weekend to think about it, Amelia stood. The relief and pride were immense, but the choice before her felt crushing. Ma'am, Amelia said, urgency filling her voice. Before I can give you an answer, I need to ask for one thing. What is it, Martinez? I need to make a phone call. I need to talk to my father. I need to make a phone call. I need to talk to my father. Colonel Harrison exchanged a brief, weighted glance with the two unknown officers, a major and a captain, who had quietly entered the office during the classified briefing. The major, who wore intelligence insignia, shook his head slightly, a gesture that spoke volumes. Martinez, the colonel said carefully, you understand that communication with your father is currently restricted. He is a compromised, non-active asset. Direct contact might not be advisable. Amelia felt her resolve solidify. She had faced down 4 recruits and a psychological test. She wouldn't be dismissed now. Ma'am, with respect, my father made sacrifices for this country I'm only just beginning to comprehend. If you're asking me to follow in his footsteps to make similar sacrifices, then I deserve the chance to talk to him first. The colonel studied Amelia for several long moments, then nodded to her companions. After a quick whispered exchange, she spoke. Major Peterson will supervise the call. It will be brief. Certain topics cannot be discussed, but yes, you can speak with your father. An hour later, Amelia sat in a secure communications room, the heavy atmosphere of operational security pressing down on her. Major Peterson monitored the connection. When her father's voice came through the phone, Amelia nearly broke. It was older, more tired than she remembered, yet strangely alert. Amelia, my God, is that you? Where are you? Are you safe? I'm in the army, Dad. I've been serving for almost a year now. A long pause followed. The army, Victor repeated slowly. Like father, like daughter, I suppose. Dad, I need you to know that I understand now. About your work. About what you were really doing. About why you had to push me away. The silence that followed was thick with decades of sacrifice and regret. When Victor finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. I never wanted you to know. I wanted you to have a clean start, a normal life. It wasn't a clean start, Amelia countered, tears blurring her vision. It was built on me thinking you were a failure when you were a hero. I was never a hero, little star, Victor said, using the childhood nickname that always broke her heart. I was just a man trying to serve my country and protect my family. Major Peterson tapped his broken watch on the table, a silent command to wrap up. Dad, Amelia rushed on. They've offered me an assignment. Intelligence work. Like you used to do. I wanted to hear your voice before I decided. Victor was quiet again, assessing the risk, calculating the cost. If you take this path, it will change you, he finally said, his voice gaining strength. You will have to lie. You will have to do things that conflict with your nature. You will carry secrets that isolate you. Amelia waited. She needed his conclusion. But, if you have the strength for it, Victor continued, if you have the integrity to remember who you are even when you pretend to be someone else, you can make a difference. You can protect people who will never know your name. Should I do it? I think, Victor said slowly, that you are stronger than I ever was. You left me when I was drowning in bitterness and self-pity, and you built something better for yourself. That took courage I never had at your age. I'm sorry I abandoned you, Dad. You didn't abandon me. You saved yourself. That's what I always wanted most. Victor's voice softened further. Whatever you decide, know that I am proud of the woman you have become. Major Peterson signaled the end. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Amelia. Be careful, whatever path you choose. The line went dead. Amelia left the communications room, her choice now clear.